Hey, this is Pam Perry back for another Speakers Magazine interview with Maggie Anderson. Today happens to be Blackout 2020 Day, which means that we are not to buy, if you're African American, not to buy anything online or offline unless it's a Black-owned business, from a Black-owned business. And so today with me, I have Maggie Anderson, which is such synchronicity because she is the one that wrote the book, Our Black Year. All right. And that book has gone on and been seen everywhere, CNN, Chicago Tribune, and that sort of thing. But let me give you a little bit of background about Maggie, who is our guest today, Our Black Year. So you can, before we do anything, go to ourblackyear.com, make sure that you do that and get the book. So her and her family made history, really dominated headlines as a global media covered their year-long stand in exclusively off businesses, professionals, and products from the Black community. So for a whole year, this is what their endeavor to do. Their empowerment experiment is what they call the EE, resulted in a landmark study conducted by Kellogg, which proved that 1 million new jobs could be created in America with a small increase of support Black-owned businesses and mainstream firms that engage them.
Yes.
So to give you a little bit of background, Maggie has a BA from Emory University and a JD and an MBA from the University of Chicago. So she's really into this. I first found out about her when I was reading, I think I Googled something and I saw a TED Talk and I was so impressed. And this was right after George Floyd's murder, or maybe a little bit after that. Maybe it was after, like right after Ahmaud Arbery's. It's been, 2020 has been a lot going on. Black Lives Matter has been bubbling up to the top amid the COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter and all the deaths of the different African Americans that have been killed by police and that sort of thing, Breonna Taylor, all of that. So I'm Googling different things and finding different videos, and her TED Talk talked about Our Black Year. She authored this book, Our Black Year. Publishers Weekly, which is the industry standard for books, called it Dynamite. Business and community leaders like Kathy Hughes, Mark Morrell, Alfred Edmond from Black Enterprise, Mark from National Urban League, Kathy Hughes from Radio One, have praised Maggie's book as well. Kathy Hughes said, she's owner of TV One and Radio One, said, "Thank God for this level of commitment to Black community." Now, this book came out not this year. I believe it was 2008. I believe. No, 2009. 2009.
No, it was actually 2012. We did the year in 2009.
Okay.
It was published in 2012.
2012. So she's not
Can't
brand
believe
new.
It's been 10 years.
Yes. Yeah, I know. So it's not like she's brand new to this. She just had this commitment.
No.
She was chosen by BET as one of the most 16 fascinating women of 2016. She appeared on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, PBS Hour, TV One, CBS Morning, and now on Speakers.fm, right? Speakers
Now
Magazine.
I made it.
But I love her because her platform really just increases awareness about the economic inequalities and that starve Black neighborhoods. I just recently saw Tulsa,
Yes.
the documentary on that, and it just really just broke my heart because it was like they had a thriving Black community that was just basically ravaged by the white people in the area, just burned it to the ground. But really she talks about in the book about how strategic investment in business and diversity and entrepreneurship and self-help economics can really create jobs, curb crime, eradicate poverty, which is really key, and drive entrepreneurial and educational achievement and grow the economy.
Yes.
And how from 2009 was this idea to 2012, the book being published, to now 2020, on this particular day, we have, I think you're like the poster child for Blackout 2020, right? It's like, how did you even get this inkling to want to do this? And give us a little bit of your background, because it probably has to do with your parents, and you talk about that in your TED Talk as well. But you could be doing so much more with your JD and your MBA, right?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think I'm meant to do anything else in my life, but I have done other things with the JD and MBA. But it's just funny how, God does zigzags, and you ultimately end up where you're supposed to be. So before 2009, I can honestly say that John and I, my husband and I, were not thinking about buying Black, about being revolutionaries, about my being an activist. Both of us are heavily credentialed. My husband went to Harvard and has his MBA from Kellogg.
Okay.
Both of us went to, some of the best business schools in the world. We're both working in corporate America. We had just had two beautiful little girls. When we did the empowerment experiment, when we did our year completely living off Black-owned businesses, our daughters were 2 and 3. We had just bought a beautiful house in an affluent suburb of Chicago called Oak Park, Illinois. So we're basically living that bougie, Black-ish life. We love being Black. We're very proud Black people. We went to a Black church and we went to all the Black conventions, and, we loved Black and we voted Black, and we were happy when a Black person made it to the Super Bowl. We got mad when Black people got shot, but we weren't buying Black. And to us, being proud Black people and being successful Black people, and not having shown that love and pride and representing that success economically, really made us feel guilty. This started, now it's my whole life, but this really started to pacify our guilt. How dare we been able to, quote unquote, make it, redeemed all of the blood and the brilliance of our ancestors who fought for us to be able to live the lives that we lead. And how dare we not just represent the community by living well and acting right, but how dare we not reinvest in our community by supporting our businesses and entrepreneurs and just showing solidarity. It's not just about, hey, we need to support Black-owned businesses. It's, I'm a proud Black person. So just like my Jewish friends who are proud Jewish people, they love Jewish, vote Jewish, and they buy Jewish.
And they celebrate their culture.
They celebrate that. That's part of their cultural solidarity. It's not anti anything.
Right.
So if a Jewish person needs a plumber, they ask their friend and they say, do you know of any Jewish plumbers? That's just the way it is. They shop by name and nationality first, brand and convenience second. So we thought about all these things. And again, it was really mostly guilt. And we said, you know what? We're gonna take a week and just buy Black. We're only gonna support Black businesses. And then the idea just got bigger and bigger. And then my mother got sick in 2008. So in 2008. 2007, 2008, my law school professor, Barack Obama, John's cooking buddy from Harvard, so we knew him like a guy, knew him,
from Chicago,
getting elected to the president of the United States. So the world is changing. My mother gets sick. My mother was from Cuba and always taught us that our being Cuban and speaking Spanish didn't make us any less Black or not Black. Luisa Maria Palacios taught me that meant we just got dropped off a little earlier in the triangle trade. She's like, you are no different, and don't think you're any better, no matter who says anything to you because of your skin and your hair, than your Black brothers and sisters in Jackson, Mississippi. Your Black people were being killed and exploited in Cuba. They were just shucking cane for the Spaniard racists, while your brothers and sisters here were picking cotton for the British ones. That's the kind of mother I had. Wow. That's the kind of Black pride that she instilled in me. And when we found out that she had pancreatic cancer, and we had been bouncing this idea around, now Pam, for like 5 years, we kept saying, when are we gonna do that Buy Black thing? And never did it. And then finally, Nima got sick, and she knew that we were talking about it. And she said to me that this would be the most important thing I could ever do. I had worked for the CEOs of McDonald's. I had worked for Congressman John Lewis, worked for mayors, was on the Olympic committee when I was 21 years old to bring the Olympics to Atlanta. All these fancy degrees came from Liberty City, Miami, a poor, drug-infested neighborhood. In multiple ways had made my mother proud. But she said, this was what I want for you.
Wow.
And so as my mother received her death sentence, I made a commitment to fight for our community where I could have been fighting for her. So our Black year was not just the year that I gave my all so that I can support Black-owned businesses every day, no matter what. It was also the last year of Mima's life. And she was given 2 months to live, but lived 16 months. I promise you, Pam, just long enough for us to see this through.
Wow.
And see her daughter do the most important thing that I could ever do.
That was your calling.
Because of Mima, because of Barack's election, and because we kept having these discussions about our guilt and how we're not really giving back to our community and redeeming everything that our ancestors and elders had done for us, we finally conducted the empowerment experiment, which is our public pledge to completely live off Black-owned businesses, support Black professionals, and buy only Black-made for an entire year. The public part was important because we wanted to inspire our peers, other successful middle and upper class Black folks like you to do more with their dollar to show their love and pride. Public because we wanted to, along the way, negate these horrible stereotypes about Black-owned businesses. We wanted to show the world that we can do any and everything. We wanted to increase awareness about our Black business history, our historic greatness about these Black Wall Streets. Tulsa was just one of them. We had 60 all over the country. Wherever Black people were together, we had Black Wall Streets. We had hotel chains, department stores, hospital systems, all right. And we had 6,400 grocery stores in the 1940s. 6,400. Most of my supporters, proud Black people like you, can barely name one. We have less than 20 now in America. We had 120 thriving Black-owned banks. Jackie Robinson created a bank so that Black entrepreneurs can get business loans, so that Black people can buy houses, get mortgages. We celebrate Jackie Robinson. We use him as an example of great American racial progress. But the bank that he created to fuel that progress, to make sure that Black people were included in the American dream, that bank failed among 100 other.
Is it because the Black people did not support the bank?
That is unfortunately the most critical piece of the storm. And Pam, it's like a perfect storm. So you know how everything just worked together against us. So the quick of it is we fought for integration, and Black-owned businesses fueled that fight. I can't stress that enough. We talk about the Civil Rights Movement. We're proud. We showed all that solidarity. We made all that progress. Civil Rights Act, Selma, Montgomery bus boycott, Voting Rights Act. We did all that. That was not brought to you by Walmart. That was brought to you by Black-owned businesses. All those rallies and protests and meetings were held at Black-owned hotels, Black restaurants. Those Black women they were called Walker agents. They were the entrepreneurs that followed after Madam C.J. Walker when she created the Black hair care industry. Those women were entrepreneurs with money, and they would pay to protect. They pay for bodyguards and armed men to protect the kids when they did those sit-ins. They paid for the hotels and the meetings and the transportation and all that stuff. All of that we did with our own money, with our own talent, with our businesses. They paid those business owners when all those people had to get bailed out of jail. Those business owners paid for that. Madam C.J. Walker almost single-handedly funded the NAACP and the Legal Defense Fund. None of that would have happened had it not been for Black-owned businesses. The reason I posit that Martin Luther King even had the audacity to believe we could change America in that radical way was because he saw these business owners growing up. When he was a kid and he wanted a piece of candy, he went to the Black-owned store. His mother put their money in a Black-owned bank. The church put their money that Sunday night, that Monday morning in the Black-owned bank. If there were Black taxi services, there were Black hotels. So he saw all of this, and that gave him the pride he needed to force America to change. So without them, we would not be where we are today. But what we fought for was integration. Then we have integration. So here's to answer your question. So yes, and people know this, we were so excited to finally be included in the American fabric that we started to support those businesses that wouldn't have us before. So to make our point, you know, you didn't let us come here before. We'll show you. We're going to shop at Woolworth as much as we can. We're going to put all our money into Citibank. We're going to make sure we give all our money to Maybelline because you wouldn't let us spend with you before. In so doing, we abandoned a lot of those critical foundational Black businesses that we have. Of course, it was not our intent.
Right,
but,
except for like a lot of the restaurants, they're still around.
Right,
so
a lot of the
always have our soul food restaurants and always have our places.
Have strongholds, but we don't have, let's say, a Black version of major restaurants chains like a Chili's or Fridays. We should have all of that by now. We do have local, strong Black restaurants, but we need to build them up even more. So that was kind of the first step, and I'll be quick about this, Pam, but this is very important for people to understand. So we started to buy from those institutions that didn't let us buy and bank from those institutions that closed us out before. Then after that, just coincidentally, we're getting into the 70s and 80s, and that's when the immigrant flux came. A lot of immigrants started to come here. So those folks are just looking for the American dream, just looking for a place where they could set up shop and become entrepreneurs and make money for their families, and they have every right to do that. At the same time, we're having white flight. So here are pockets of neighborhoods with lots of Black people who are anxious to not buy Black, and real estate is cheap. Yes. So these immigrants come to these neighborhoods, set up nail salons, pharmacies, gas stations, all that stuff.
Stores.
And beauty supply stores, and we buy from them. Again, that's not racism. We're not hating them. They're not hating us. None of this was intent, but it was the perfect storm. So now, even on the local level, we're losing our stores. Black people are just not showing that solidarity, feeling like to be American and to be equal, I have to buy Black. That just wasn't the mindset.
Right.
Then the next
really just come out of the 60s. So it's just like I want to integrate.
Right. So, and then we have these stores in our community that are not owned by us. That money leaves. They don't live there. They set up shop there, and then they get in the car after they put the padlock on and put the steel gate back down, and then they go to their enclaves, and that money builds up those school systems, those tax bases, send those children to college and pay for their dreams and vacations. So that's what our Black money does for those different immigrant groups. Then after that, the big corporate brands started to notice how Black folks notice our buying power. So they started to put us in commercials. We used to call it Colored On. So the big deal was when Diane Carroll, I'm aging myself, but Diane Carroll showed up in a Revlon ad. That changed the world. Then McDonald's started to put Black families in ads, the car companies. All of a sudden, you see Black families all the time. And to us, then in the late 70s and 80s, we saw that as them embracing us as an investment in the Black community. That's just marketing. That doesn't create jobs for Black people. That doesn't give hope to little Black kids. That doesn't counter the presence of gangbangers in Black neighborhoods or the influx of drugs into Black neighborhoods. That doesn't do any of that. All that does is market to the Black community.
Right.
So we responded though, and we started to give them more and more money. And because they noticed this, corporate's not dumb, they started to hire the would-be entrepreneurs, our talented tenthers like me. So think about it, Pam. I think we're around the same age, 70s, 80s, around that time. The goal, the hope for Big Mama was not that I would own a business. It was that I would get a good job. I would get a good job at Xerox or at McDonald's Corporation or one of these big brands. So here I am, super talented, loving my community. My community, the world, corporate is pushing me to go to college, get as many degrees and education as I can, and give all of that smarts to a big American corporation who would hire me, typically in HR or marketing, so that I can get more of my Black community to spend my money with the big brands. That's the way it happened. So that perfect storm, all those things I can't say it was a diabolical scheme for our economic demise, but all of those things worked against Black-owned businesses. And there's never been a movement since the day before King died for us to fix that. So it's just getting worse and worse. 3% of all the beauty supply stores, those in Black neighborhoods, so Black beauty supply stores, only 3% of those are Black owned now. Those grocery stores, like I told you, are gone. You can't, there's no decimal for the amount of business that these big brands do with Black owned firms. That's another front. Hennessy, L'Oreal, they would close tomorrow with Black support. And it's not just that. It's not just that that they live off our dollar. It's that they don't do business with our firms. If there should be some reciprocity for that, but there's no movement. There has been no organized effort to buy Black. King said it on the day before he died. He was murdered after his mountaintop speech. The last speech he gave, he said, "We've got to support Black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and put your money into Tri-State Bank." That was the Memphis area Black community bank. We want to have a bank-in movement, not just a sit-in. His point was, we have to fight for economic justice and empowerment too, not just civil rights and social justice inclusion too. But we've never organized like that. So everything went against Black-owned businesses. We never had a collective effort to fight for Black-owned businesses or show economic solidarity. And that's why we are where we are today. When I did that year, all of this I'm trying to tell you and rush and tell you in 10 minutes slapped me in the face, knocked me over. I saw what that means. Just take a walk down a typical street in the west side of Chicago. You will only see Black people, and go door to door and open the business and see nothing but Arab Americans, different kinds of Asian Americans, ethnic Europeans like your Greeks, your Poles, Italians. Imagine what that says to a kid. I can buy here, can't even really work here, but I can't own. And then walking down that street and seeing the dirt and the depression. And it's not because we're dirty people. It's because we have no sense of ownership there. In places where there are where you feel like you're a part of the community, we keep that community clean. That's just the way it always was. But it's not our home. We feel rejected there in our own neighborhoods because we have no economic, we're not vested there economically. We feel like we're at the bottom. And so that's how we treat ourselves. And that's how we treat the neighborhood.
And I think HBCUs, because they're in like a difficult time right now.
Right.
But people, you were saying that like during the HBCUs were really created, historically Black colleges and universities were created because we couldn't go to the other schools.
Right.
So then when we could go to the other schools, we left the HBCUs. They then became a, economically, shaky, so to speak, because we were going to the different schools, Michigan State, U of M, whatever. Then the HBCUs was like, okay, who wants to go there now? So it is a whole mindset. So now there's a rise in HBCUs, Howard University, Spelman, all of that. More Blacks are going to those schools. And I think they are telling that generation that you should buy Black. There's a little bit more consciousness. Like today, Black Lives Matter. We've got Black Lives Matter. Today we have Blackout 2020. So it is rising, but it had to take so much, almost 20 years.
That's a separate, and it had to take, I have mixed feelings about this new wave of Black love. Of course, I couldn't be happier. I'm the biggest cheerleader there is for Black business. So now that people are actually calling and wanting to talk about it and asking for tips and all this stuff, I love that. But it kills me. It hurts me that this man had to die the way he did for us to see what we're supposed to do. And it's not that, I want credit for doing our Black Year years ago, but I would feel better if a little Black family taking a stand out of love because it's the right thing to do and it's time and we're supposed to support each other would have inspired the more energy than
Not death.
this man being murdered the way he did.
Yeah.
But we're here now. So I hope, and I've seen it before. I saw it with Ferguson. I saw it with Trayvon. Little blip by Black support.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping now it's different. God is telling me that, and I feel like, you know, it's all destiny. You know, 10 years, and things are starting to change. I hope that this is going to be that movement that I've been praying and crying for these past 10 years. I hope that happens, because Pam, it's really not just about sticking it to the man. It's not about they got this and we don't. It's
a mindset.
It is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
It is who we are. We can't even call ourselves a community if we cannot have basics like community banks, a few stores. If we don't have the respect enough from American society to be included in corporate America, if our kids can't go into Walmart and possibly think that the toaster his mom buys came from a Black company, America hasn't reached its ideal, and we can't call ourselves a community until those things happen too. So I'm not saying buy Black because we hate white. I'm not even saying Black versus white. I'm just saying we're America too. So all Americans should be shopping at Black-owned businesses, just like Black people have been shopping at your businesses for the past 50 years. That's really what we're trying to get to.
And coming from Detroit, Motor City, obviously, so we have Berry Gordy, and so just seeing Black-owned businesses in culture, you see that in entertainment, you see probably more Black-owned type of things. We had PET at one point in time, Kathy Hughes. So you see entertainment, Black newspapers, the National Association of Black Newspapers. I really, because I'm from the media, I always say that we need to own our own media, because now we own our own narrative and we can actually share that. One of the things with entrepreneurs that I work with or speakers, and they say, oh, I want to get in such and such a newspaper, or want to, you know, like it's a Black newspaper. And I said, well, do you buy the Black newspaper?
Right.
Do you read it? Do you share it? And if you don't buy it, it will not be around. You want to be in it because it is part of our legacy to be in the Black press, say the Michigan Chronicle. Well, when was the last time you bought the Michigan Chronicle? Or your Chicago Defender if you're in Chicago. And so part of that being in Detroit, Motor City, there was a lot of car dealerships that were Black owned. When I first started getting, you know, driving or whatever, I said, I got to get a car. And I remember someone saying, this is, well, you should go get your car, but buy from a Black salesperson because you're going to get the commission. Okay, I get that, understood that, that's fine. But then it's like, it took it a little bit further. I says, well, they're just a salesperson. What if I go to a Black dealership and actually buy from there? And there was a lot of pushback. Well, you're going to get a better thing. You'll get better from someone else. And I said, no, I want to go to a Black owned. At that time, it was Conyers Ford, and I bought a car, John Conyers' brother. Or Avis Ford, which is Walt Douglas's family. They now own it, and he just recently, Mark Douglas, congratulations, he just became the president of the Detroit Golf Club in Detroit. So by doing that, you're helping your Black community overall, and it's a good thing to do. To knowing that I used to be more Black dealerships. I think there's only like a handful, but
there really is
an effort to do that. And so how much effort was it for you, Maggie, to spend a year? Now we're just asking people today to only buy Black or one day, right? So if you want to buy anything, where could you go to buy that thing? We don't have Black bookstores. We used to have a lot of them. I think we have the Shrine or that sort of thing. And we used to have Apple Bookstore, but it's like, it's harder to buy Black. So what are the tips?
Right. So the tips. And one of the tips I wanted to say, I always try to say in one sentence, Black owned businesses, Black banks, and Black press, because those are the three that we really, those are the three pillars. And I haven't been saying press. So I'm so glad you shouted out Michigan Chronicle and Chicago Defender. Because I do have my tips. I have the kind of top 5 things that you need to do. And one of them is subscribe to at least 3 Black-owned press publication. So that is one of them. But it was a super sacrifice that year. Pam, I got 2 baby girls, 2 grown baby girls. Just think of it now. If you wanted to buy clothes for a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, toddler clothes. I'm not saying a cute little, hey, I'm a daughter of a Delta t-shirt. I'm saying everything, your shoes, your diapers, little earrings, all that kind of stuff. Where would you go?
Wow.
So I couldn't find a store like that for 5 months. I did find one, and I talk about her, and I have 2 TED Talks. I'm not sure I mentioned her in the second one, but in the first one, it was called Jordan's Closet. It was this perfect
in Bronzeville
place. In Bronzeville, yes. So she didn't survive, but I found her. But for 5 months, my daughters were just wearing their old clothes, and they're growing, so their shoes are too tight, their belly poking out of their shirts, they're getting teased at school. But we were committed to do this. So 5 months out of the year, I didn't have a grocery store. My beautiful, perfect Black-owned grocery store, aside from losing my mother, watching that perfect place that should be a chain right now die because we did not support it, was the most hurtful part of our Black year. It was called Farmer's Best. So after it did close, and after I watched it close, and I begged the community to please keep this place open, and it closed, I didn't have a place to buy food for my family. And where the year before I would have been at Whole Foods or Jewel or whatever, there's tons of places in this suburb to shop. I didn't have a grocery store. So what I did, Pam, is I found my gas station. It was a brother, he knew who we were, he hooked us up, he helped us. I would send him like $500, and he'd send us a gas card, and I would use that gas card to shop at like the AM/PM, the mini mart attached to the gas station.
Oh, okay.
So for 5 months, we had to eat gas station food, which is not food. That's the food you eat in the car on the way on a road trip, but you don't feed your family potato chips and putrid bologna for dinner. Sometimes there wouldn't even be milk there. So I can spend an hour on the sacrifice and what it put us through as a family. But the better part of the story is
too, though, Maggie.
Huh?
That has something to do with the health in the Black community.
Right. Oh, yes.
They
yes.
wanted to.
But I don't want to push. I don't want that to be the ultimate
food.
Message. How hard it is, because it was hard. Especially if you want to live off Black-owned businesses. But if you want to show pride economically, there are a bunch of things that you can do that will lead to our community being strong enough to reopen those stores for the top quality businesses that do exist to reach a critical mass and open more stores and have a bigger presence in corporate. So number one, I'm going to say it, you have to put some money in a Black-owned bank. Maybe not all your money.
Okay.
But
right. We have First
Independent. And so easy. Yes. One United, owned by Terry and Kevin.
Kiko Davis. I give a shout out to Kiko Davis. She is in Detroit. She owns a Black-owned bank.
Which bank?
Yeah. Kiko Davis, First Independence Bank. First Independence.
Oh, First Independence. Okay. I'm sorry. And I was shouting out Terry and Kevin, but let's Kiko, please, let's support her bank. So you got it. That's number one. My second tip, all of our banks are just as FDIC insured as anyone else's bank. We're not. So if anything happens to the bank, nothing will happen to your money. There's no reason that you can't convert your mortgage to a Black bank. I'm sending thousands of dollars for my mortgage and my second mortgage to Industrial Bank, a fantastic family-owned bank owned by the Doyle Mitchell family out of DC. They've been with us and serving us for 80 years, one of the oldest still around banks. And it's just to wake up every morning and to know that my house and the money that I spend on this house is going to that bank, and that bank whole thoroughfares in DC, fully funded by Industrial Bank. Black entrepreneurs that couldn't think about getting a loan otherwise, getting it from Industrial Bank, loving the community, doing community events, scholarship funds, all the beautiful stuff that we do for each other. It happens when we start off with the banks. So that's number one, the banks, mortgage, personal accounts, and we need to talk to our churches about putting that Sunday money on Monday into Black-owned banks. Just if we did that, we'd cause a revolution. But we need to support. We need to support our banks, and we have really, really good quality banks. I'm not giving any of our businesses license to disrespect us or give us inferior goods and services. I'm telling you to try it, and you will see. I have my mortgage with their bank, and nothing has ever gone wrong. How many times do you visit your mortgager? You don't. You pay them your money, and you never see them. So even if that bank is not in your area, my bank is in DC. So that's number one. Number two.
Let me say this real quick.
And I can't give you all the tips right now. It's just too hard.
I know.
But definitely the bank, the restaurants, you have to go to Black-owned restaurants. Go and be there and see your face. Don't just order and pick up at least 4 times a month. You absolutely have to do that. The third one, definitely 3 subscriptions with Black-owned publications, not just Black publications, Black-owned. Essence is ours again, thank goodness. Black Enterprise is still with us, and or local. So we got to do that. Also, just things that you're not thinking about, but something that's a recurring bill for you. So your dry cleaner. We just assume that we don't have Black dry cleaners. We do in most of our major areas. I had one right down the street. So I have a tip on my website to help you find dry cleaners. So things like that, your dry cleaner, your daycare, car wash, a thing that you go to over and over and over again, you really need to make those cyclical purchases Black owned. 2 more tips, all of your Black professionals, no excuses. I have all the links on my website. So my optometrist, my OB-GYN, my daughter's pediatrician, my husband's back doctor, all of our doctors, our dentists, Black. Lawyers. All of your professionals. I mean, at this point, there's no excuse for that. All of our professionals need to be Black. Dentists, everybody has to be Black. Your realtor, your lawyer, all of that needs to be Black. And the last one, Pam, your Black hair products. You have to. All of them. You have to. You cannot be proud and Black right now and angry as we are right now. And getting ready to go into the street and protest and risk your life so that your voice can be heard, and give your money to L'Oreal before you do. My hair looks good today, and I'm here fighting for Black people. But wouldn't it have been hypocritical for me to put in my hair L'Oreal, owned by Lillian Bettencourt? I'm sure you saw this in the TED Talk, who died in 2017, the world's richest woman. Imagine how she got that way. How? Because she owns Dark and Lovely, Smooth and Shine, Less Jam, Magic Shave, Dark and Natural, Carefree Curl. All of those brands that only Black people buy every day are owned by Lillian Bettencourt and her family and L'Oreal, and they have 0 Black businesses in their supply chain. None of that money comes back, and we keep them in business. And L'Oreal they're not even doing the basic stuff like sponsoring our events and all that stuff. They do a couple of itty bitty little things. But with that kind of money, L'Oreal should have, the money should be in Black banks. They should have tons of Black distributors. They should have funded the new Black hair care movement. They should make sure all this stuff is manufactured with Black inputs, at least. But they don't do any of that. It's not even on their radar screen. All they do is take our money. That's it. We have to, as much as we love our Black-owned businesses, we have to make a statement to the world that Black hair care was our industry, created for us, and we are going to take it back. We created that industry. We should own that industry. Just like Goya owns, Hispanic foods, those culturally relevant industries send a sign to the world that we still have a community and that we love each other and that we're brilliant. We have to make sure all of our Black hair care products are bought from Black-owned brands, and we can no longer step foot into a beauty supply store that is not Black-owned. We have tons of online beauty supply stores. Yeah. We have hundreds of perfect Black-owned hair care brands. So that's why, in response to what's happened with George Floyd and the revolution that's happened in our country now, I did issue the Black-owned hair care challenge. I'm asking people, I got 6 tips, but let's start with this one. I'm asking our folks to stop buying from these companies that are not Black-owned, and to make a commitment publicly online and say, I accept the Black-owned hair care challenge, and show off our wonderful Black products. That's on my website too, ourblackyear.com. All of it's there, blackownedhaircarechallenge.com. There's so much information. It will not be as hard for you as it was for me. Not at all. You just got to give it a chance. Put a little money in the bank.
Oh, your dad, I saw your dad take the challenge too.
Yes, so much. Put
He
a
was
little
like,
money in the
okay,
bank.
we're gonna get rid of this Head and Shoulders and whatever it was. He says, I'm gonna do black hair.
If
He's
today,
on shampoo. I was
your
like,
if today your listeners would just go to one of our banks, start an account online, accept the Black-owned hair care challenge, just buy from, and so much online, buy from one of those, and subscribe to a Black press outlet online, we'd have a revolution tomorrow. We would have funded like hundreds of jobs. Our study proved that our businesses are so underfunded, Pam, that just a small increase in support would have a geometric impact. So it wouldn't even be zero sum. It's not like we're taking away from someone else.
Inspired.
Yeah. So
we have a Detroit hair care. I just posted in my blog yesterday. We have 2 Detroit beauty products. One is Naturalicious, which is owned by Gwen Jameer. She has a Naturalicious. She has her own hair care product. She has her own factory. She's in a lot of the Targets. I mean, it's Black owned, and I didn't know about her.
I'm putting her on my site.
Naturalicious. She started with $32 and has gone on to like millions, right? And not that old. It's like she's still millennial. Then the other one is Lip Bar. Melissa Butler. She is lipstick, and basically you could buy hers online. Black owned lipstick. You know, those are the 2 things. And I mean, we got to buy lipstick on a recurring basis anyway.
Yes.
We got to buy products anyway. So those are 2 Black young ladies from Detroit that are doing the darn thing, right? And supporting them. So I want to say that it doesn't take a lot. And then I think there was another one, I want to say Main something another, that was Black owned online. The ladies.
Main Choice?
Main Choice.
Yes.
Main Choice? Yes. So that's
I didn't know that was out of Detroit.
No, that was just one I read about this, since doing the Black hair hair challenge.
I was just adding her to my site today.
Different ones. Right.
Thank you.
Right. So go to ourblackyear.com to find out all about how to support our Black businesses. So many times we're just so angry, like you said, Black Lives Matter, this and that. Put your money where your mouth is. This is Blackout Tuesday 2020. People are like, I'm going to buy only from Black owned, this and that, to quit buying this and make a little bit of extra effort. You said even a small change would make such a big difference in our community.
Yes.
That is the whole thing about civil rights we now have to have that economic equality, I guess you would say. And it starts with us. We can't just wait for handouts. We have to do our part.
Right.
We have to do our part. We have to subscribe to the Black media. We have to go, like you said, at least 4 times a month, go to a Black owned restaurant. And I will say this too, if something is not right with the Black business, as Black people, don't go so far as like, I ain't coming back here and blah, this and that. And they, and now it's like you're feeding this whole thing like Black people are inferior from one incident, from one store. How many times as a consumer have you gone to a white store? They ain't treat you right, but you still go there. You go to a different Target, but you don't stop going to all Targets because a clerk was rude. I mean, so Black people need to be more forgiving of each other and not have that mindset that Black people are inferior, they didn't do this right or what. No, it's not that. You need to either tell the manager, the owner about your problem and issue, and they will fix it. All right. Don't go and tell all your friends and family, don't support that such and such, because it's hurting you as a community more instead of just fixing it and dealing with it. Because I'm telling you, people are people. There's going to be some things that aren't going to be 100% for wherever you go, but make an effort, an extra effort to go to, if you got to buy a car, if you can't find a Black dealership, at least go into the place and say, I need to talk, with a Black person.
We have to do that. We have to do that.
And help that family.
We have to be public. We have to be public and proactive about it. And it's like we can't do the whole white man's ice is colder. I mean,
Yes.
that whole thing.
My pastor used to say that. My pastor used to say that. I was like, is that in the Bible? But when I was younger, but I got what he meant as I got older, because it was like, wow, it's like, you think that we sell the same thing, but you're going to go to them because you think their ice is colder. It's like, no, everybody's ice is all the same temperature. You got to get out of that mindset. And it is a mindset thing.
It is.
Oh,
it is.
God.
It absolutely is a mindset
thing of, there was Detroit. We had a Black area too as well. We have Detroit, we call it Livernois area, the Avenue of Fashion, Livernois 6 area. It's Black owned businesses. We need to support that. And I know during the holiday time, I'll make an effort. Now it was more convenient to go to the mall because it was enclosed and you could just, whatever. But I would make an effort. It's like, I'm going to buy all my Christmas gifts on Livernois. I'm going to walk in Detroit in December, walking up and down the street in the cold, trying to find grandma, somebody, trying to find auntie, because you can do it. You really can. And you
really can. And it
feels better.
Feels so wonderful. That was one of my last tips. nabhood.net for Black owned hotels.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you travel, whenever I speak, it's called NABHOOD, NAB. So think about it this way: National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers. So NAB, BHOOD, nabhood.net.
Oh, okay,
and they have a directory of Black owned hotels. Every time I give a speech, I lecture, I preach, I stay in Black owned hotels. It absolutely can be done. These little things, these little changes, Pam, just think about it. Your dry cleaner, all of your professionals, all of your hair care, all of that is possible. When you go out on the road, make sure you go to Black owned hotels. And these are franchisees. So it's a Black owned Marriott, a Black owned Hilton, and our Black owned bed and breakfasts. Got to support our bed and breakfasts. Beautiful new Black owned hotel. My girlfriend just in South Beach. We have a Black hotel in South Beach. One of the beaches.
Oh my God.
But yeah, but if you don't look, you don't know. You gotta look. And so the point I was gonna make to you, because you're saying you'll feel better. I'm telling you, Pam, when I sleep in Black owned hotels, the pillows just fluffier. The bottled water tastes different. It just feels so good to know that I'm supporting a Black business and something as simple as your hotel, something you just don't even think about.
Is that on the website too, Our Black Year, the NABHOOD?
Yes. So please go to ourblackyear.com. Okay. This is the last thing I want to say to you. Do not buy Maggie Anderson's book about their sacrifice, buying Black all year long, their tribute to Black owned businesses and our people.
Don't buy it on Amazon. Buy it at Our
Go to a Black owned bookstore or come to me. When you come to me, that money goes into Liberty Bank. I will sign and inscribe it for you. And the proceeds go to our foundation, the Empowerment Expander Foundation, our 501c3. I can give you a receipt for a write-off. So it's a no-brainer. Please do not go to Amazon to buy my book. But when you go to Our Black Year, which is being revamped, it's a little, it needs work, but the information you need is there. It's not about aesthetics. Right. There's a link called Maggie's List. And on that list, I have my favorites. I have the places where you can go to find your banks. I have resources there, and I have tips. So it's just, what to put in Google when you want to look for something, just stuff like that. It takes work, but once you do these little things, it'll get easier for you. All that is at ourblackyear.com. Look under Maggie's Tips and Maggie's List. I have 2 links on there on my website.
I love that, Maggie. This is phenomenal. I'm inspired, and I'm seeing
you inspire me, Pamela. You inspire me. You really do. You give me.
I see Delatora watching, Manetta watching. I'm seeing all these. Vanessa is watching. Tangela, Brian Tippins, Denise Hall. Cassandra. Even my cousin, Christina.
Brian Tippins is one of my soldiers. One of my supplier diversity soldiers.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
I saw him.
He fights for all businesses, but he's a very, very proud Black leader in our supplier diversity movement. And we really, really need for supplier diversity to be less of a filter and more of a gate for Black owned businesses. And he does that. So I love you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for your help and support and love.
I love that, but make it more of a gate and less of a filter. That is so true. That is so, I love that right there. That is a mic drop right there. I love it. I love
girl,
it.
I'll send you about 10 of those.
So I thank you so much. It, just inspire people. Today is Blackout 2020, but try it, make an effort. Sometimes it's not going to be totally convenient, but know that you're making an effort for Black Lives Matter when you're buying Black, right? When you're supporting Black, you're
It's
building
directly connected. It's absolutely
your legacy.
connected.
I
Yes.
like what you said at the beginning. You said Martin Luther King, one of the things that he said right after, right before he gave the I Have a Dream speech was that you need to support Black owned businesses.
He said it.
Put money into the bank. And so in Detroit, you could do that with First Independence Bank. Kiko Davis is the owner of that bank. There are Black auto dealerships. There's, so you have just inspired me to really go out.
Thank you. I love you, Pam. Thank you so much.
And then also my daughter as well, because she has to buy a car this year. So she's going to go to like a Black auto, car dealership, that sort of thing. So it keeps it going. And then, and support where you can Black owned nonprofits or HBCU.
That's right.
The Urban League, the NAACP. There's just so many. Black United Fund is here in Detroit, and they fund programs for Black youth. So, know that your money matters because of the energy that it's associated with it. So make sure that you're conscious about it. You just really talk about a consciousness. So I just love what you're doing, and I want to support you any way else that I can.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be with you today.
And the Black Hair Challenge. Make sure that people go to, that's a website all by itself.
Yes, it's Black owned hair care challenge. I know it's long, but the owned is so important.
Right. Black owned
hair care challenge.com. Yes, but there's a link to it on our Black Hair.
Okay, very, very good. Well, I just thank you so much. This is very, very good. And this video is on speakers.fm. You want to watch the replay. It'll also be, you'll be in our August issue of Speakers Magazine as well, with the video on the page as well. So
you are so awesome.
We're going to keep it going.
So awesome. You're empowering us. Thank you so much.
I want you to do another TED Talk now.
I do.
Yes,
kind of post, kind of debrief, kind of show, where we are now. That's an idea.
It's probably a little bit easier now than it was back then, maybe.
Yes. It is. It is. It's easier, and the topic is not taboo. 10 years ago, Pam, I couldn't even say "buy Black." I mean, it was like, urban or whatever. I couldn't. Now you could just say it. White people are saying "buy Black." I couldn't even say the words. I had to constantly defend that I'm not some racist. Right. People now see that this is anti-racism. But yes, so much has changed. I can't say we've made enough progress numbers-wise in terms of bringing those institutions back, but the culture is definitely changing. That there are kids that even think about this, that know this is a topic. That's huge. That's really everything.
And just because you're pro-Black does not mean you're anti anybody else. That is the really, really key. And you are just, it's what they call, what the kids say, we're just woke. They stay woke.
Just woke.
Stay woke. All right. Thank you,
okay.
Maggie.
Oh, I love you, girl. I hate leaving you, but yeah.
So make sure everybody goes to ourblackyear.com. Make sure you go there, get the book, and support. And look at Maggie's list. All righty. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Pam. Love you. Blackout 2020.
Love you. Bye-bye.